Hello everyone and welcome back to PSG. I'm Dylan and today I'm going to be talking about the Century Age of Ashes beta slash playtest thing. I got into it. I'm not even sure if it's technically a closed beta. I signed up for it when they announced the game and I was like, oh look, dragons, that looks like fun. And I got into it today. So I played it for a few hours and I've got some thoughts, so let's get into it. So first off, the gameplay, for those that don't know, it's basically like a classic dogfighting game, but you're a dragon, which is way cooler. But the gameplay at first, it does seem a little bit hollow. Like, it's fun, but it seems very simple, and it feels like it's gonna end up being not very scalable with, you know, like, skill. Like, once you play it for a few hours, you've probably kind of done everything that you can do. And I don't know if they're relying on different maps and different game modes to have it be interesting, but the core gameplay itself seems like it could use some improvements, mostly in the movement, because really the only movement ability you have is the sprint, which is just you like double tap the sprint button and you just go real zoom fast, and you can do that I think like 4 or 5 times. It uses like a little stamina gem, and you can get power-ups or they come up back over time to restore those. But yeah, it's fun and that works, and it's really cool when you're like really diving around like corners and castles and stuff. It's cool, but I also kind of wish that there was some kind of like dodge roll, like a you know do a barrel roll, one of those things. I kind of wish there was something like that, because I think that would be a lot of fun, and I think that would add some variety to just the general movement. As far as like the regular matches go for gameplay, they drag a little bit. I think this is mostly because of the lack of music during the like most of the game, and there's no like fun voice lines and stuff. This might just be like beta stuff. I'm not sure if this is going to be implemented later, but you know, as someone who plays a lot of Overwatch, the core gameplay during a match feels emptier in this game. You know, I would love to hear some banter from the writer to their dragon. You give them some personality. Like, when I think dragon combat, I kind of think of stuff like How to Train Your Dragon, which, you know, those movies are just filled with personality between the dragons and the writers. So maybe I just want this to be a How to Train Your Dragon game. But anyway, I just wish that there was a little more personality in the people here. It's just strange to me that they would make classes that have specific designs and not also give them personalities. You know, if you want to go in the direction of a generalized silent character like a lot of these types of games do, then why not just make one character that we can make ourselves and then assign a class to them? That's sort of what most of these games do. But I don't know. Maybe they are going to have personality later down the line. Who knows? It just seems like they're stuck between like the Apex Legends or Overwatch approach and the like Fortnite or Spellbreak approach, where one is every character is a fleshed out 3-dimensional character and the other is just, they're just a vessel for the player, and this is just kind of sitting in the in-between. It's very strange. Speaking of the classes though, they're kind of interesting. You know, you've got your basic tank, DPS, and healer setup with the promise of more classes on the way. I don't know if they're gonna fit in that you know, classic thing. There are icons that show which one is, you know, which class. I don't know if those relate to tank, DPS, and healer, because there's only 3 of them, and they're each unique. I don't know if they're going to repeat, or if those are just class icons specific to the class, but right now we do have the Marauder, the Windguard, and the Phantom, which are the tank, the healer, and the DPS, respectively. I think you can make an argument that they're all DPS. It's kind of one of those games, sort of like Marvel's Avengers, where everyone does damage and the point is to kill, but also some people can heal and some people can take more damage. I like Marauder and Windguard. Phantom, not so much. I don't know, it just doesn't gel with my playstyle. I really, really like Windguard. They're definitely my favorite. You know, I am a heal slut, but you know, Windguard doesn't heal all that much, but her one healing ability is sort of similar to Mercy's in Overwatch, where she just flies towards a friendly and heals them and herself with some shields for a while. And I think that's cool, but I mostly think it's cool because it gives me another movement option, which is something I, you know, complained about earlier. We have the sprint, but now also if you're out of stamina for whatever reason, or you just need to get out of jail real quick when somebody's hunting you, then you can hit that dash and zoom to someone, maybe save them, get some points for that. It's cool, I like it. Something I do like about the classes, though, is that you get to choose between 2 different abilities at the start of a match, and you're locked into that for the rest of the match. You can't change classes, which I think is cool. It's a fun way to keep things fresh between matches, just, you know, depending on which skill you want or how you want to play. Like, for example, the Wind Guard has like a forward explosive thing she can shoot, or something that trails poison behind her, so you can kind of play really aggressively or helping your team, and whenever you get into a jam and someone's hunting you, you can, you know, poison them behind you. So it's a cool way to add more variety and show some ways to play these classes that are different between matches. Sort of like how in TF2, each class has kind of like a base, you know, this is how you play this character, but depending on the gun that you choose and the weapon that you roll out with, it could be a completely different class at that point. It's not to that degree, obviously, because you're just switching between 2 abilities, but it's a similar vibe. And the last thing I wanted to say about the gameplay is a couple things about the UI. I really love that it tells you at the bottom of the screen when someone is hunting you, just to say that someone's like targeting you and chasing you, and that goes away when they kind of, you know, veer off and go in a different direction. There's no mini-map, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on around you in general, so this little UI element in combination with the danger arrows around help a lot for awareness. I do think this could be improved in some ways, though, just make it feel like meatier. I don't know how you would do that. I'm not a UI expert or a dev, but just I would like to know more clearly that someone is chasing me and make me feel a little more scared about it. So yeah, overall the gameplay is fun. I have my concerns with it, obviously, but it's fun. I just think it should be improved on in some ways. Give me some more ways to move around is mostly my takeaway here. Now, this is a live service game following in the trend of recent years. I don't know if it's going to be paid at launch. I hope not. Like, you shouldn't have to buy it at launch considering how deep it looks like they're going into the cosmetics. Nothing seems gameplay altering from what I can tell. I'm intrigued by it, by the cosmetic system. The only thing this game is like holding me with is the theming itself. So, you know, cosmetics are going to be what is going to keep me in here. I don't really care that much for spaceships or fighter jets, but dragons? I like me some dragons. I am really worried about the price of the cosmetics, though. Like, one dragon egg could be upwards of $25, which is ridiculous. I'm not going to pay $25 for a dragon. Maybe like 10, not 25. And it also seems like it would take you a really long time to get that amount of gems, the in-game, you know, paid currency, through normal gameplay, because you only have like a chance at getting them every week or something. I didn't really look too much into it because I don't think I'm going to be spending any money on this game, but they definitely should reduce the costs of pretty much everything in the store, or just make the gems easier to acquire in-game. Luckily, though, it looks like you do get something cosmetic, or at least some gold or gems or something, every time you level up, so that's fun. You even get a rare dragon egg every couple levels, which, speaking of, the dragon eggs is a really cool system. You know, I love the Chow Garden and hatching things from eggs, so, you know, anything like that is always gonna hold me. I would love if they added some kind of breeding system where you could hatch dragons and then breed them, and it would make a new dragon. Maybe even put in a Chow Garden, a dragon garden. I would literally love this game forever if they did that. Moving on, I've got a little note about controller support. This is actually some huge praise that I have for the devs here. I played this with a DualSense on my PC, which usually gives me a lot of problems, but this was the most seamless experience I've ever had using that. So I use the DualSense through Steam, and Steam usually reconfigures it to be an Xbox controller, so Xbox prompts show up in-game, which can be a little confusing when you're playing with a PlayStation controller that has PlayStation prompts. But this game had PlayStation prompts, and I was playing it through Steam, and it loaded my in-game profile, which basically means that Sentry took the time to write some code that was like, okay, we know they're playing with a controller, but which one is it? And then display the correct prompts. You would think this would be a no-brainer, but it's not. Games all the time that are released for both consoles, when they come to PC, they only ever display Xbox prompts. even if the game knows that you're using a PlayStation controller. When I was playing Marvel's Avengers with the PlayStation controller, which I basically always have on my computer, it pretty much only ever shows Xbox prompts when I configure the DualSense through Steam. But if I don't configure the DualSense through Steam and I just plug it in directly to my computer, or just, disable that and somehow get it working where Avengers can recognize the DualSense without going through Steam, then PlayStation prompts show up. But if the DualSense ever goes through Steam, Xbox prompts show up. But the fact that PlayStation prompts show up even if I'm putting my DualSense through Steam to configure it, that's awesome. That's perfect, and it's great. And I did make sure this wasn't a change on Steam's side, so I'm not just giving the Sentry devs praise for something that Steam did. I went back and checked with Avengers and a couple other games to see whether or not, when I booted them up with the DualSense, if PlayStation prompts would show up, and they didn't. Xbox prompts did. So, yeah, good on you, Sentry devs. The only complaint I had about the controller support was that there was no rumble, from what I can tell. I don't know if this is because I'm using a DualSense. I've had some issues with rumble working correctly with PlayStation controllers on PC, but I think it just hasn't been implemented yet, mostly because it's a PC-only game, and it's probably just something the devs haven't focused on. I don't know if the intention is to play this game with a controller or a keyboard and mouse. The reason I played it with a controller was because in the tutorial section, all of the videos that were there had the UI be from an Xbox controller, so I figured, hey, if the devs are playing with a controller, that's probably the intended experience, and it didn't feel awkward at all, so I'm probably going to continue to play this game with a controller. Plus, it's not like a high precision game. You just kind of have to get close to someone and then press the X button to shoot a fireball, and then it homes in for you. So it's not like I need the precision of a mouse. So the last thing I wanted to touch on in this first impressions was just the performance of the game. On PC, especially these days, it's something we talk about a lot. How a game performs, especially when it's in a beta state like this, and I can surprisingly say it performed pretty well. I think it could be optimized a little more, but at this point, my rig is starting to show a little bit of age. For context here, I have a 1080 Ti and a 3900 XT with 64 gigs of RAM, and usually that can slay like basically anything, but at this point, with modern games coming out, and coupled with the fact that I'm playing at 4K on a 4K monitor, I have to consistently drop the in-game resolution down to something around 60 to 80%, depending on how well optimized the game is. So for here specifically, I had to drop it down to around 1296p, which is just a little higher than 1080p, and that got me stable frame rates around the 70 to 80 FPS range. Obviously, you're gonna have to drop it even further if you want like high refresh rate, high frame rates, but I don't know why you would for a game like this. Again, it's not a very precision-based game. It's not an FPS or anything, but it's definitely a spectacle game for sure. I would prioritize resolution and just getting it locked to 60, because this game is gorgeous. Also, turn motion blur off. That doesn't affect performance, but I played one game with motion blur and I could not see anything. So at the end of the day, Sentry Age of Ashes is really pretty. It's got some super promising gameplay that I think can be improved upon with a few quick additions, dodge rolls and stuff, and is overall just a ton of fun. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to try out any of the game modes other than like the team deathmatch mode that just weren't queuing for me, but I'm sure those are fun too. I don't know if they're like disabled right now or something, but the fact is, in this test, the core gameplay, being shown in a team deathmatch setting, that being fun and me getting into it and having fun with it is a good sign. So hopefully they can iron out the kinks that I've laid out here and improve on some of the stuff like the cosmetics being too expensive and the gameplay personality-wise being a little hollow. If they can get that ironed out, I'm going to be playing this, I think. So yeah, check it out if you have access to the beta. Otherwise, I don't know when this comes out. Sometime. Put it on screen. Alrighty, thanks so much for watching. Catch you next time. Do the YouTube stuff. Like and subscribe and everything. My cat is about to eat my microphone, so I gotta go.